The strange thing about being ignored at work is this. One day you don't get angry anymore. You just get clear, not enlightened, not calm in a yoga retreat way. Clear like when the fog lifts and you realize the cliff was always right there. I didn't realize it in a dramatic moment. No shouting, no slammed doors. It came quietly while someone else was talking about lunch plans. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The moment everyone loves to focus on, the HR scene, the sweetheart comment that came later, that was just the punctuation mark. The sentence had been running for years. Let me rewind a week. I was in the break room, standing under the flickering fluorescent light that never quite decided if it wanted to die or not. My lunch was instant noodles. Lukewarm. Again. The smell of burnt popcorn floated through the air like a threat. Someone had tried to microwave fish earlier. No one claimed responsibility. I was manually reconciling a vendor import that should have been automated 3 years ago. 3 years. We had tools for it, or at least we used to. Half of them were broken, the other half duct taped together with outdated plugins and good intentions. Some integrations were so mangled they looked like spaghetti code shoved into a meat grinder and then blessed by someone from it who swore, "It works on my machine." I was elbow deep in it. Again, that week alone, I stayed late every night. Not because I'm a hero. Because if I didn't, the whole thing would collapse and somehow still be my fault. I patched what I could. Rerouted 3 API pathways by hand. Chased down a ghost billing issue that had been bleeding $22,000 a month since March. $22,000 per month. Vanishing. I found it by accident. Buried under a mislabeled ticket marked external vendor issue. It wasn't external. It was us. It was always us. Meanwhile, my manager, let's call him Ethan, was busy demoing the company's Slack emoji wall to new interns. I wish I was exaggerating. I once watched him forward me an email he was already CC'd on and ask if I could look into it. So when people later ask, "Why did you ask for a raise?" I don't laugh. I just stare. Because I didn't walk into HR with ego. I walked in with exhaustion. Proof. Results. Receipts. 14 pages to be exact. Every vendor I'd onboarded. Every system I'd cleaned. Every compliance fire I'd put out while everyone else was circling back. I wasn't asking for a crown. I wasn't asking for special treatment. I just wanted the dignity of being paid like someone whose keyboard had been bleeding. So I booked the meeting. HR sits on the 3rd floor. Same neutral carpet. Same glass walls. Same motivational posters that say things like growth is a mindset while actively discouraging it. Her name wasn't Denise, but the energy was identical. Let's call her Marion. Marion smiled the whole time, not a warm smile, a professional one. The kind that doesn't reach the eyes and never promises anything dangerous, like fairness. I slid the document across the table. She didn't pick it up right away. She skimmed the cover page, tilted her head, that head tilt. You know the one. The tilt that says I'm listening but actually means I've already decided. Then she said it. "Sweetheart, this is a corporate office, not Shark Tank. We don't negotiate with junior staff." Sweetheart. Not my name, not my title. Sweetheart. I didn't blink, didn't scream, didn't flinch. I just nodded. Slow, calm, like I was tucking a bullet into the chamber and saving it for later. She kept going. "We really do value your contributions," she chirped, smiling wider now. "But we have to be fair to the rest of the team." The team. The same team that panicked when I took one sick day and 3 vendor portals locked themselves out like nervous breakdowns in a trench coat. I thanked her. Yes, I thanked her. I stood up, shook her hand, and walked out like nothing had happened. If you've ever been there, if you're nodding right now thinking, yep, that checks out, hey, real quick. It would genuinely mean a lot if you hit that subscribe button. I'm clawing my way toward my first 10,000 subscribers, and every click helps me metaphorically launch another HR sweetheart into the sun. All right, back to the story. I left HR with my face neutral and my knuckles white. Marion smiled the whole way through the goodbye, like she'd just performed a mercy killing. I didn't rage, didn't vent, didn't send a dramatic Slack message. I went home, made a cup of stale peppermint tea, the kind that tastes like regret and dust, opened my personal laptop and logged into LinkedIn for the first time in 6 months. I didn't update my headline, didn't change my photo, didn't announce I was open to opportunities. I just scrolled. Vendor partners, logistics firms, companies we'd ever CC'd in a group email. My search history turned into a hit list. That's the thing no one tells you about being underestimated. You have time. 2 days later, I got a message. Hey, your name came up during an internal audit. You're the one who fixed our contract portal last quarter, right? It was from a senior analyst at one of our biggest clients, a medical logistics company I'd babysat through 3 onboarding disasters and 2 outages caused by our lazy integration team. He didn't want a consultant. He wanted context. Just an informal chat, he said. Pick your brain. I took PTO, smiled like it was a real vacation. Didn't tell Ethan. Why would I? He still thought I was a contractor half the time. I sat in their glass-walled office sipping real coffee, the kind that doesn't come in a cracked communal pot, for the first time in weeks. They asked about their systems. Turns out they were still being trampled by my company's lazy codebase. They didn't need advice. They needed a cleaner. And I realized something quietly right there. I was already holding the mop. When I left, they handed me paperwork. No pressure, they said, just think about it. Full-time offer, better title, better money, more autonomy, and one small kicker. They wanted help prepping for their upcoming vendor audit of my company. I walked home in a fog, wind slicing through my sleeves. Smiling, not like someone who won the lottery, but like someone who just heard the floorboard creak under a guy who thinks he's safe. I didn't need to scream, didn't need to fight. I just needed to wait and sharpen the knife. That night, job boards became my nightlight. I stopped binge-watching true crime and started living it. Systems analyst, integration specialist, vendor compliance manager. Every posting cross-referenced with our partner directory like I was running a sting operation. I didn't apply wide. I applied smart, only to companies that had touched our mess. Anyone who'd been burned by our botched deployments, billing errors, API meltdowns, congrats. You made the shortlist. By midnight, my desktop looked like a digital war room. Chrome tabs flaring. Resume versions numbered like sequel releases. Coffee rings bleeding across printed spreadsheets of support tickets I'd resolved but never been credited for. If this was war, I wasn't going to the front. I was the weapon. And that's when the email arrived. Subject line, vendor audit prep sender, someone I'd never spoken to directly. A senior systems director at one of our oldest clients. And my name, my actual name, was in the first sentence. That's where things stopped being quiet. That's where the floor really started to shift. 2 days into that quiet job hunt, I got an email that stopped me cold. Not because it was dramatic, because it was precise. Subject line, vendor audit prep sender, Caleb Morris, senior systems director. The company, one of our biggest, oldest clients. The kind that stuck with us out of inertia, not loyalty. If we were a greasy mechanic shop, they were the guys still letting us inspect his brakes every quarter because switching garages felt like too much work. Apparently, my name had come up, buried in an old support ticket trail. One of those long chains no one reads once the fire's out. Months back, I'd caught a recurring credential error that had been misfiled as external fault. Their team flagged it, logged it, quietly moved on once I fixed it. Caleb wrote, "We figured you were the one doing the real work. Are you available for a quick chat?" I stared at the screen longer than I needed to, not because someone noticed me, because someone noticed correctly. We picked a Friday. I burned another PTO day and told Ethan I was finally getting dental work done. He barely looked up from his phone. Probably thought I was taking a long weekend to emotionally recover from being called sweetheart. Let him. I walked into their headquarters wearing the same blazer I'd worn to my last real date. The one I kept, just in case. They sat me down in a glass conference room with citrus water and a whiteboard still stained with faded panic notes from their last vendor incident. Caleb didn't waste time. "We're not here to throw your employer under the bus," he said, professional, polite. "But your name keeps showing up every time something actually gets fixed. And honestly, our systems are being held together with zip ties and PDF exports. That's when I knew they didn't want a post-mortem report. They wanted surgery. Their vendor portal had failed 3 logins that week alone, triggering internal ticket loops. Billing files were arriving encrypted under a protocol they deprecated 2 years ago. Their half-implemented single sign-on still routed admin resets to a no-reply inbox. Every issue traced back to us, or rather to the parts of us not named me. I didn't pitch myself, didn't sell, didn't need to. They'd already built my resume from the breadcrumbs I left behind. I don't want to cause any conflict, I said carefully, sipping espresso like it didn't just embarrass every office coffee I'd ever had. Caleb nodded, respectful. Of course, just exploring. We wrapped in under an hour. He walked me out with a handshake and a quiet nod that said, "We'll talk again." I walked home with a bag of takeout I didn't remember ordering and stared at my inbox until 1 in the morning. The offer came before sunrise. Formal, clean, no pressure. They wanted me before Q4. They wanted help auditing my own company. A translator, Caleb wrote. Someone who knows where the bodies are buried. My mouse hovered over the download button for a long time. It wasn't just an escape hatch. It was a ladder, out of junior hell, and into the one room my old employer would have to sit in and smile. That's when the double life started. By day, I was still the junior analyst no one CC'd unless something was already on fire. I cleaned dashboards, reformatted reports, fixed things quietly and let Ethan take credit loudly. By night and weekends, I became something else, a digital surgeon. I pulled old error logs I'd stashed in my personal drive for training purposes. Parsed ticket IDs I remembered handling, but never getting credit for. Rebuilt credential chains from memory. Drew diagrams on sticky notes until my desk looked like a conspiracy board. I found subroutines buried like landmines. Deprecated libraries duct-taped into production because someone once read a blog post claiming backward compatibility was cowardly. It was a junkyard, and somehow it had been my responsibility all along. Saturdays were for reverse engineering. Sundays were for turning chaos into slides, recommendations, risk indicators, high-priority refactors. Genaxis, yeah, that's what we'll call them, ate it up like candy wrapped in compliance. Their CTO started looping me into Slack threads. I got invited to private Zoom calls, off-record, off-hours, serious eyes on the other end. They didn't call me junior, didn't call me temporary. They called me specialist. Back at my office, nothing changed. Ethan kept asking me to polish dashboards he didn't understand. HR never checked in. Marion smiled at me once in the hallway like I was a houseplant she forgot to water. Everyone assumed I was content. Quiet. Harmless. My resignation letter sat on my desktop in a folder labeled housekeeping. All it needed was a date. Meanwhile, Genaxis opened doors. Limited sandbox access. Trust to investigate compliance gaps. I flagged issues, backed them up with receipts, and offered solutions wrapped in legal-safe phrasing. They started calling me the bridge. The one person who could untangle the mess without setting off landmines. Their billing was late. Their reports were off. Their portal acted like it was haunted by a drunk raccoon. I could explain all of it. The adrenaline was addictive. I'd get home after a full workday, drop my bag, and actually look forward to opening a terminal window. Over there, I was trusted, respected, paid for my mind instead of punished for having one. The breaking point came during a Genaxis leadership huddle. No drama, no fireworks, just a quiet question. The VP of Ops looked straight into the Zoom camera and said, "What if she didn't just consult?" Silence. "What if she ran it?" Someone asked. "You mean lead the audit?" He shook his head. "Not just the audit, systems, procurement, integration, long-term compliance." Then the line that sealed it. "She already knows more than the firm we pay 6 figures to every quarter." That night, the official offer landed. I handed in my resignation on a Wednesday morning. No build-up, no announcement, no dramatic hallway walk. Just a digital form inside the HR portal that made it feel like I was unsubscribing from a very boring newsletter. Click. Confirm. Goodbye. No exit interview. No follow-up meeting. Marion didn't even email me herself. I got an automated message with a PDF attached. Transition guidance for departing junior employees. The file was corrupted. I laughed out loud, alone in my apartment, then renamed it Poetry and closed the laptop. Ethan, of course, found a way to make it about him. He wandered over to my desk later that afternoon, leaning on the divider like we were war buddies. Axe body spray, mild condescension. "So," he said, grinning, "jumping ship, huh? Let me guess, Gen Axis. They churn analysts like my ex goes through crystals." I smiled politely. The kind of smile you give rideshare drivers who overshare medical information. "Good luck," he added. "Everyone comes back." Everyone except me. Because while he was mangling metaphors and scrolling through a pivot table he didn't understand, using my mouse, I was already inside Gen Axis's systems. Mapping, triaging, rewriting. My pre-audit roadmap was already halfway done. Caleb had looped me into internal security threads under an alias. Consultant, Phase 0. I was neck-deep in diagnostic reports spanning a decade of vendor neglect. I could name every shortcut my old firm had taken, every expired certificate that never got renewed, every place we didn't encrypt because the client won't notice. They noticed, and now I was the microscope. For the next 2 weeks, I played the perfect departing ghost, answered emails, handed over documentation that looked helpful but wasn't, attended my final team sync with my camera off and my mic glitching. No one asked where I was going. They assumed sideways or down. I cleaned out my desk on a Friday afternoon while everyone else rage-slacked about the new cafeteria coffee policy. My box was light, a cracked mug, a mechanical keyboard I bought myself because the office one sounded like typing on toast. A single sticky note with a quote I'd written years ago and forgotten I believed. Before I left, I opened my paper planner, old school, reliable, and flipped 2 weeks forward. I wrote in block letters, audit day, Monday, underlined it twice. Walking out felt like molting, like shedding a skin that had grown itchy and beneath notice. I didn't turn around. Why would I? The next time I entered that building, it wouldn't be through the side entrance with a chipped badge and a $5 access key. It would be through the front lobby, with a contract and evidence. The doors hissed open like they recognized me. Same beige lobby, same smell of printer toner and ambition rot. But this time, I wasn't carrying lunch in a canvas tote, hoping no one ate it by mistake. Tailored navy blazer. Guest badge clipped clean. Laptop bag heavy enough to bruise egos upstairs. Security waved me through without a second glance. New company, new clearance. In the elevator, I caught my reflection. Same eyes, same spine. But the woman looking back wasn't tired, wasn't overlooked, wasn't junior staff. She was the reckoning. The doors opened. Shock rippled. Kyle from Data blinked so hard his glasses slipped. 2 engineers whispered as I passed. One mouthed, "Is that her?" Then I saw Marion. Standing outside the glass conference room, clutching her reusable water bottle like a crucifix. Her eyes scanned my badge. Recognition, confusion, something colder. "Welcome back," she said, teeth tight. "Thanks," I replied. "I'm here for the audit." She tried to smile. It came out like she bit a lemon. "You're assisting Gen Axis." I opened my laptop just enough for her to see the header on the first slide. Lead Systems Auditor, External Compliance Liaison. Her throat clicked when she swallowed. Inside the room, Greg, the VP of Ops who once told me I had great potential once I matured, stood up so fast he knocked over his coffee. Spreadsheet soaked. 3 versions out of date. I knew because I'd built the first one. "Didn't know you'd be joining us," he said, voice climbing. I took the seat at the head of the table, not the side, not the corner. "Oh," I said, booting up. "I'm not joining, I'm leading." Silence. "Full systems and compliance audit," I continued. "Retroactive 12 months." Greg blinked. 12? "Yes, clause 9.3 of your contract with Gen Axis. We'll need all vendor-facing integration logs, credential histories, and onboarding records by end of day." Marion dropped her pen. Someone cursed quietly. I smiled, not wide, not theatrical, just enough. 3 days in, the room felt colder. My findings folder turned into a digital crime scene. Shared credentials like birthday cake. Expired certificates dating back to the Obama administration. Vendor accounts with admin access belonging to employees who left before the pandemic. By Thursday, legal joined the calls. Finance stopped pretending they weren't listening from the hallway. Then came my favorite. A spreadsheet. Public SharePoint folder. Named, Vendor Access Final V4 Real Use XLSX Unencrypted. No access logs, last modified by an intern. I projected it onto the screen. "This one's my favorite," I said. Marion shifted. "That file was never meant to be permanent." "No kidding," I replied. "Your compliance policy forbids this, and yet 37 opens, 3 from out-of-network IPS in New Jersey." Greg cleared his throat. Hard to know who was responsible. Probably the junior analyst before, he trailed off. I turned to face him. "That would be me." Silence went biblical. I slid a folder across the table. "I can submit a written statement," I said. "Notarized if you'd like." By end of day, GenAxis froze payments. Support escalations doubled. Slack channels filled with panic. That night, Caleb texted me, "Nice work, keep going." Oh, I planned to. By Friday, dignity was leaking out of the building like gas in a candle shop. Then came the email. From a director who once told me to stay in my lane. "Would you consider a short-term consulting engagement?" I laughed once. "My rate is 5 times what you paid me," I replied. "Weekly, upfront, non-negotiable." They answered within the hour. That night I poured a drink. Smoky, earned. My inbox dinged again, not leadership. Staff, junior devs, support specialists. People who remembered I always had a plan. They wanted out. And that's when I realized I wasn't just auditing anymore. I was building something new. GenAxis didn't just cut the contract. They built a department. Director of Systems Integrity and Oversight. My badge worked everywhere. Conference room 3 billion was booked under my name. Marion walked in, escorted. I slid the document across. Termination recommendations, compliance failures. Her name sat halfway down the page. She reached for it with shaking hands. I met her eyes. "We do negotiate now," I said, "but not with people like you." And that was that. Full-time, lead role, nearly double my current salary. They wanted me before the next vendor audit, not just to expose what went wrong, but to fix it so it never happened again. I didn't accept right away, not because I doubted it, because revenge, like wine and subpoenas, is better aged. My resignation would come, but not yet. First, I had to pick the right Monday, the kind where you don't just walk out. You walk right back in.